There's the starter right there on the table. It was toast, man. It was deader than a damn doornail. Thing is junk. So I got the starter in, got the vehicle cranking over. I says, okay, we're good now. And then I get to cranking the vehicle over, and I'm hearing the fuel pump kick on, but I ain't hearing it, but it ain't firing. So I said, maybe the fuel pump maybe it's kicking on, but I don't know. I said, for some reason, let's give it a couple spurts of ether. Nothing. I go up and check for power at the ignition coil wires. I ain't got nothing. I start following the harness. Where's my power supply for my ignition coil? Anyway, it's like fuse 36, which is a 20 amp fuse. But I'm not getting anything supplied to the ignition coil. So I grab my power probe, and I take a back probe pin, and I back probe the purple wire. Mind you, all those purple wires are spliced together. So all you have to do is supply power to the purple wire, and that's it. It supplies it to all the other purple wires going to the ignition coils. I say, hey, go ahead, crank the truck. Whoa! The truck fired right up. I said, okay, let me figure out what's going on here. Well, that power supply from the fuse box on the driver's side, and it goes through the fender well. It drops underneath the radiator, comes up underneath the radiator, comes through this fender well, back inside, and then goes into a connector, and then goes into the PCM. I'm going through this harness and stuff right now, and look what I found. This right here, rubbing through this here. Let me get this peeled apart and start getting some of these wires identified. Alright, now start opening up some. Never made it through the other wires, but then when I go here, I go like this. That ain't even connected. It's rotten. And that's the main blue and brown wire that supplies power to the violet wire that goes to all the ignition coils. So let me go ahead and splice that in real quick. Let's get it back on the road. Or let's splice it in, I'll put everything back together, and I'll show you what I was looking at up top. Alright, I've got the harness and everything put back up and routed where it goes. I've got that all fixed and repaired up there, and the fender liner back in. Now, time to get this thing on the ground. Or just to show you the new starter, because the other one was shot. There's a new starter in. Get this thing on the ground, get everything put back together up top, and let's start it up. Alright, so now that we're up here, you'll be looking at this connector right here that mounts right here down next to the battery, and the other part of it splices off and goes into this main connector, which is the center connector for the PCM. The supply wire is this brown and blue and brown one right here in the corner that we just fixed down there in the wheel well that was rubbed through and melted into the other wires. So now what we'll do is put the connectors and everything back where they were at, put the air box and stuff back on it over there, and let's start it up. And just so you can see where we did the repair, it was right here. That's where the wire was rubbed through and melted. I took the clip off of it so it won't touch the metal anymore, and bend the metal back out of the way because it really doesn't need to be on that. Alright, let's see what we got. Key on. Boom. Bada bing, bada boom. Well, the moral of the story, folks, is not everybody's cut out for diag. And not everybody knows exactly where to go when working on especially these heavier duty vehicles. There's nothing wrong with the body control module in this truck, and that's what the other dealership quoted out, $895 for a body control module that's on back order. And then at least an hour to check it out, at least an hour and a half to 2 hours to install and reprogram. That wasn't the problem. Problem was the starter was internally shorted from sitting so long, probably. It was no good, just complete junk. And the reason it would crank no start at one point was because the main ignition supply wire had rubbed through the metal by the radiator support completely and was partially shorting it out, taking 12.6 volts and shorting it, or 12.6 volts with key on and shorting it down to like 1.2 volts through the metal. You're going to have a crank no start. You can't supply enough voltage in order for the vehicle to run properly. I don't know what to say. Other than find a place you trust and just take it there without talking trash about the other dealership, because you guys know that's not what I do. I like taking care of the customer and do whatever it takes to get to the bottom of it. So we put a battery in it, we put a starter in it, got it cranking, got it rolling over. And then once we got that done, we try to figure out why. Okay, it's getting fuel, but it ain't getting no power to the ignition coils, no spark. Supplied my own power to the purple wire on one of the injectors, or on one of the ignition coils, to power up all of them, because they all go back to a main splice. And it ran. Started right up. So then back up from there, check the main connector coming out of the ECM where it's got a branch off, where the other side of the connector goes over to the fuse box on the driver's side. I'm getting power there, but I ain't getting 12.6 volts. I'm getting 1.2 volts, 1.8 volts. Something ain't right here. Backtrack it even further, going through the harness, opening up the harness and stuff. Find a rub through spot where it has rubbed itself through at the radiator support, grounding it out, melting the wire, causing the vehicle not to start. Repair the wire with a new solder connection, wrap it all back up, take the main support off so it's not rubbing that area no more. It'll be fine where it's at. Vehicle starts up every time. That's it. That's the fix. I don't know what else to say about the other dealership, Misdiagnosis, and it is what it is. This stuff happens sometimes. They would have spent $900 for the part, a couple hours labor getting everything done, and the vehicle still wouldn't have started. It sucks. It sucks that the customer went through what they did go through, but I'm glad that I was able to get it fixed for them and back on the road. Now, the truck does need some more maintenance. You can tell it needs a tune-up. Hopefully the cats are not plugged, because these are notorious for that. These early models are, where you got to drop the whole Y pipe and replace it, both sides at once. When one goes, typically the other one's not far behind it. Runs a little rough. Other than that, she's running and moving. She can work. Brakes need to be going through. That's it. I'll be blessed. Part 2. Fix, verify, or job well done. Repair complete. Return the vehicle to the customer. Y'all be blessed. Have a safe weekend. I'll have some stuff for you sporadically popping up over the weekend. I appreciate y'all. Take care.